Hello everyone, my name is Simone. I'm one of the main developers behind Visual, and today I wanted to show you the conditioning system in Visual, or you can attribute something like XP, gold amount, health, affinity with a specific NPC, all of that. Or inventory, you have the key, you have like a certain amount of torches, all of that. And or you can do that to change the choice button that are displayed to the player, or even the text, or switch the story and branch it um, based of all this information. So to get started with that, you need at least one conditioning module to be enabled. If none of them are enabled, Visual doesn't load that system. So you have right now the choice between attributes, which is something like XP, and it's like an amount or specific setup, or inventory, which are like objects you can display in the inventory panel. I would go into the video about this module on the channel to have more info, but in this case I would just create a simple attribute. So I enable the module and then show it, and then I will add one attribute which is number, and I will call it gold, and I will say maximum 1000 of it, and I apply. Alright, so I will create just one story tile, and in attributes I will give 500 gold, and then I will use the continue here so I don't show the choice button. Alright, so now if I play, you will see that I start, I receive 500 gold, and I continue to the next one. Right now there is no conditioning in place, everything is just happening like that. So let me save this, and let me show you what you can do with that. So now that I have attribute module on, I have obviously the attribute menu here, but also I have these little flags. And these little flags let you do check before to show the choice button. So let me show you what I mean by that. In here, I receive 500 gold, and I arrive to the next story tile, and I'll have two choices. One is pay the entrance fee, and the second is you can't pay the entrance fee. And then you can see that I will connect them really quickly. I will add condition to these by clicking the little flag. So you can see that if I click on this, there is a new menu that appear. And then the first one I will say, okay, check all the rules. You can have multiple rules, or you can decide any rules. That means either the first rule or the second or any of them is true, then it will show. So in this case, I will leave it for all rules, and I will say gold is bigger than 100. So this one will only show if gold is bigger than 100. You can close that menu by clicking on the flag. And you can also see here in your grid view there is a little flag next to the choice button saying, okay, this will only show based on its condition. And the second one will be check all rules gold. If gold is under 100, then show the second one. So now I'll save this and I'll play. I receive 500 gold, and then only the pay entrance fee shows up because I have more than 100 gold. Now you can mix and match as well. So if I were to add a third choice and say you do not want to pay the fee, that's also a possibility, right? The player has the money, but he decided he doesn't want to pay the fee. So this one has no condition, so it will show every single time. I receive 500 gold, and now I have the two options. So this is a nice way to have your branching decided by condition based on what's happening, what the player has, how much experience, affinity, gold, key, all of this thing. And this works also with the inventory, of course. So this is one way of doing it. The other way you can do is force the switch without the player having to choose. So in that case, I will create a new one, and I will call that you enter the fair, or let's say you paid 100 gold and you entered the fair. And then the second one, I'll create a second node, and this one will be you don't have enough to enter the fair. And here what I do is instead of creating a choice button, I right click on it and I'll switch by condition. And this will automatically switch. So the difference between the two is that one is automatically switch without the player seeing. The player doesn't see that. It just, the flow goes in and automatically pick. The second is that the player will have multiple choice button and decide where it's going. And some choice button will only appear based on condition. So in this case, I click on the switch, I do a check, all rules, same system, gold. Is it bigger? I'm gonna fix that. Then 100. Yes, automatically go there. Else, it has to go there. So if I save that and play, and I click start, you receive 500 gold. You pay the fee, so it went automatically there. Now if I were to change that condition to 1000 gold, press play, I receive the 500, you don't have enough to enter the fair. So I automatically switch to that. Again, the difference is really one display the choice based on condition, and the other one makes the decision automatically. Now, this is for all the choice and branching button and all of that. But there is a third thing, which is the story block. So let me disconnect this, move it aside, and I get 500 gold. I create a new thing, and here you will see that once you have one of these modules enabled, you have the little flag there, but you also have this thing called story block. So instead of writing my story there, you can also start to write and then switch to story block. I click and add a block. When I add a block, you can have rich text. Whatever I write here, you arrive to the cashier for the fair. This has a small option under, which is always. That means it will always show this text, no matter what. You can also switch it to if, and the same system works with rules. So in this case, I will do always. You always arrive to the cashier for the fair. And then I click plus, and here I say, you pay the fee for the entrance. And then I click another plus, and I will say you do not have enough for the entrance fee. Now these I basically will add rules. So if gold is bigger than 100, show this. If gold is smaller than 100, show this. I'll save and play. So now if I were to read the text, I get the 500, the first thing. You arrive to the cashier for the fair, you pay the fee to the entrance. Because I have 500 gold, this one trigger. Now if I were to change this to 1000 and press play, start, receive the 500 gold, you arrive to the cashier, you do not have enough for the entrance fee. So these basically allow you to build story block that will show or hide based on condition. And that's a really nice way to have a single story tile and then change all of that. And this works as well for the attribute module that are not numbered. So if I were to add an attribute and say time of day and do it custom and do day, night. And then the default option is day. Again, I will go to the video about modules and the attribute module especially to see more info about that. So if I press this and save, and then here I'll come back and I'll switch to time of day. If the time of day is day, show this. The cashier is there and the fair is open. But if the player arrive at night, the fair is closed. Now I'll save this. I need to set up by default, obviously it's the day. So I click, you arrive at the cashier is there and the fair is open. If now I were to change the attributes to time of day night, press play, start, so it's the night, you arrive to the cashier for the fair is closed. Again, this allows you to combine many things, and if you were to use the inventory, and again, I would really suggest to watch video about the module to know exactly what attribute module does versus what inventory does and all of that. But if you have any of them and or multiple of them, they can be combined. So here I will add torches for the attribute for the inventory. So if you were to change any of these, you can also add a rule that is based on inventory, and you can mix and match them. You can have something that say, okay, only if you have that specific key with that many experience and that many affinity with that NPC, then the door will open, you know. So yeah, this was about conditioning. It's still being worked on. Like Visual, we try to update really often. Please come to the Discord if you have any question. My DM are always open. Um, and yeah, so once again, I'm Simon, and see you on the Discord. Thank you.